those of you who don't know me, my name is Damien Priestley. I'm a contemporary fine artist. My work looks at social injustice and cultural changes due to societal upheaval. Over the past 25 years, I've investigated everything from the missing in 1970s America to prostitution in Vienna at the turn of the last century, to the crimes of the Roman Catholic Church. In this week's programme, I will be looking back 16 years to a collection from 2007, Lady Luck. In America in the 1930s and 40s, new highways were being built, scything their way through boundaries, borders and state lines. They heralded a new era, a time of change and promise. America was on the move, its people were going places, albeit within their own country. Scattered alongside these highways appeared all manner of motels, eateries, convenience stores and truck stops to service its various travellers. The early days of those decades also witnessed a huge growth in commercial advertising. The 1940s and 50s seen a significant increase, appearing in more places than it ever was before, with more and more of it brilliantly designed and more efficiently compressed and ingeniously disguised as something else entirely. Thus, like all propaganda, a flame for a moth, it passed into our hearts and minds without our seeing it or knowing it. Its appeals and promises devised with their ever-increasing sophistication and subtlety. All the while being planted into our minds, of course, this possible threat posed by advertising, particularly since the war, was of course dismissed by the corporations. To them, advertising was simply overt solicitation, but simultaneously easy to perceive and therefore easy to resist. If you keep your wits about you and deploy some basic common sense, then anyone thus armed will not be moved by the false promises, not led into temptation, no matter how expertly concocted they may be, with their mottos that you can't forget, the jingle that becomes an earworm, or the endless sense that you're too fat or too thin or too pale, or simply that you're just ridiculously out of date. These corporations would have you believe in a wonderful, how would you say, I guess, a wonderful sleight of hand of messaging that you were way too bright to fall for every unwanted advertising overture in your life, that its presence is frivolous and obvious hyperbole and will be obvious to anyone who's with even a basic common sense with their eyes open. This wonderstroke of messaging is close to brilliant in its deception, of course. The problem, however, is, of course, that it really does work. It wouldn't exist otherwise. And so we have a situation where the traveller is lured to these malls, motels and gas stations, promising their versions of various neon-lit nirvanas. These highway dreamers include the families going out of state on their vacation, salesmen crossing county lines, chasing that big deal which could secure them for life, and of course there are the truck drivers, keeping everything supplied to every corner of the nation. Also, there has always been too the loner, the drifter, the hitchhiker and the runaway. But by the late 1960s and 70s, something had changed. Once seen as beacons of light in the darkness, as the oasis in the wilderness, these places became more like lighthouses, warning the weary travellers of the possible perils in the vicinity. Question is though, have the places changed, or is it the society has? Has the saturation of hollow sound bites of false promises being filtered into the rotting society from the foundations up, the structure crumbling as the rising damp of the reality seeps into these folks? These places were originally meant as stop-offs on your way somewhere, but they became something else. They became the destination. They attracted these people who regarded these places as the end of the line, nowhere else to go. When a lone man queuing in a fast food chain in some small town just cracks and open fires on the innocents around him before killing himself, today it's seen as a cull rather than a killing. And when someone goes missing and is last reported being seen at a gas station or a truck stop diner, no one's in the least surprised. The visuals of this collection concentrated on a combination of distressed photos and painted images along with single line drawings. The idea behind this was to sort of reinforce how memory works when recalling an event, particularly one associated with trauma. This event could happen at any time, in any location, and the victim is as common as dispensable commodity as so many plastic spoons or sugar sachets. The colours are inspired by the peeling plaster and the paint in cheap motels, or the wallpaper in so many lounge bars where no one sees anything but the bottom of their own glass. And so I penned this little narrative based on the work, a little sort of fictitious story of one of these hitchhikers, lured by the neon and false promise of somewhere else, always somewhere else. So this is one story. You remember the stained smile of the lady who served you and called you miss. You recall the sweet, sticky smell of freshly brewed coffee, the tingling of your fingertips and the warmth in your palms as you cradled your cup. You remember the orangey red glow of the buzzing neon sign above you lighting up the diner window, which cried on the inside with streams of condensation. Outside, the dark, early winter Midwestern sky tumbled in, finishing the day all too prematurely. You remember thinking this warmth, these assurances and certainties, and the feelings that they brought, these were the reasons you came to this place. That maybe the trip wouldn't be so bad after all, and your journey has taken a good turn. The sound beside you of someone shifting from foot to foot made you look up. You see the truck driver touching the rim of his cap with his index finger, and how he removed his glove before scratching and rubbing his chin, saying that he was going clear across 2 states if you were headed that way, and that he had already paid for your coffee. You remember walking outside across the freezing parking lot and hearing the truck driver saying over the noise of the frost crunching underfoot that you were really doing him a favour anyway by coming along, and that his boss was clamping down on drug use among the drivers to stay away, and that the conversation that you would have with him would do him all the good, everything he needed. You remember as he opened the door to the cab of his rig, and that as you climbed in, he said from behind you that you reminded him of someone he knew. And sadly, that's it. There is no more. The final play has begun and you're already in the end game. And that was my one story. I could see it unfolding as I was painting the pieces. On my invite for the launch of the Lady Luck exhibition in Piccadilly, I produced a stick of gum, many of them actually, and branded with my fictitious Lady Luck logo, a little horseshoe. This was included in a brown paper grocery bag, similar to what the mercantile store would have used in the 50s, 60s and 70s. It also contained a photograph of a tabletop jukebox and a hostess Twinkie. So the question is, why gum? Well, Lady Luck gum is of course a fictitious brand, but it works as both an item and a symbol to reinforce the narrative of the series of works. As a symbol, gum is among a select handful of products which scream America. In a world where a country's level of development is directly proportional to its consumerism, America stands alone. Lady Luck gum tells you to be optimistic and hopeful. Chew it all day long and everything will work out just fine. The ultimate marketing ploy. Offer people a little hope with the product, charge a small amount for this feeling of well-being and watch the profits just roll in. If gum only gives your mouth something to do while your brain is not engaged, then the picture is absolutely and totally complete. As an item within the context of my narrative, it also acts as a linchpin, holding the story together and being the thing which connects all of the people and all of the places. It's sold in the convenience stores, in the truck stop vending machines, and given complimentary in the motel foyers. It's in the pockets of the waitresses and the backpacks of the runaways, and on the dashboards of the truck drivers. Each one looking for a little bit of luck to help them on their journey. And that's the American dream. That's it right there. So, I guess that's Lady Luck. In conclusion, I'd like to say, visit the works on my website. There's a few in there, and they again they were debuted in Piccadilly and followed up what was remaining in the Florence Biennale again in 2007, and they sold to a chap and his wife. A story for another time, but they instantly got it. And the signature piece in it is called One Story. There's 6 small canvases in there, and it's the journey, perhaps of, the girl in the truck stop. But in this case, she ends up in New York City, and the last panel in the piece is a little evidence bag, and in there is a stick of gum, a couple of dollars, and an unused ticket to visit the top of the Empire State Building. And there is the tragedy right there. But I'd urge you to go and have a look at this collection online and reread the foreword to it. It was another tricky collection to put together, and received commercially rather well. I have a funny feeling a lot of people didn't really understand it until they spoke to me about it, and some of them were reluctant to then go ahead with the purchase, but they did. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. You might have picked up on something. None of these collections are too happy, but hey, it's real life. Till next time.
Damien asks, what's behind the red curtains? It's a top secret thing, Damien.